If you've been walking every single day and your blood sugar still won't budge, I want you to know it's probably not your fault, and this video is going to show you exactly why. My name is Dr. Andrew Hayes. What I'm about to share with you changed everything for one woman named Sarah. She was doing everything right. She was out there rain or shine walking 45 minutes a day. She had cut back on sweets. She was drinking more water. Her doctor even told her she was doing great. But when she got her blood work back, her A1C hadn't moved, not 1 point, and that's when something unexpected happened that most people never think about. Sarah didn't walk more, she didn't join a gym, she didn't start a restrictive diet, she changed when she walked, and within 90 days, her prediabetes started reversing. Now I know that sounds almost too simple. In a world where everyone's telling you that health is about willpower and sacrifice, the idea that timing could matter more than the amount of exercise you're doing, well, that feels wrong. But there's actual science behind this, real peer-reviewed research, and once you understand how your body works, you're going to realize why so many people have been missing this piece of the puzzle. The question you're probably asking right now is when should you walk, and that's exactly what we're going to break down together. But before we get there, I want you to understand something about your body that most doctors don't even talk about in those quick office visits, because if you don't understand the why, the when won't make nearly as much sense. Let me start by saying this: if you have prediabetes, you're not alone. In fact, more than 1 in 3 American adults have it right now. 1 in 3. That's roughly 96 million people. And here's the thing that keeps me up at night: most of them don't even know it yet. Prediabetes is that in-between space. Your blood sugar is higher than it should be, but it hasn't crossed over into full type 2 diabetes. Your A1C is probably somewhere between 5.7 and 6.4. Maybe your fasting blood sugar is between 100 and 125, and if you're anything like Sarah was, you might not feel sick at all. You might feel completely normal. That's actually what makes prediabetes so dangerous. It's the silent setup for everything that comes next. Because here's what happens if prediabetes goes unchecked. Your body's relationship with insulin starts to break down. Insulin is like the key that opens the door for glucose to get into your cells. But when you have prediabetes, that key doesn't work as well anymore. So your pancreas has to work harder and harder, pumping out more and more insulin just to get the job done. And eventually, sometimes in just a few years, that system exhausts itself. That's when you cross the line into type 2 diabetes. And once you're there, everything changes. More medications, more doctor visits, worries about your eyes, your kidneys, your feet. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because prediabetes is one of the few conditions where you still have a real window to turn things around completely. But here's where most people get stuck. They hear prediabetes, and they think the answer is obvious: exercise more, eat less, lose weight, and yes, those things help, they do. But they're also incomplete. They're like trying to fix a car by just checking the oil, but ignoring the timing of when the engine fires. Sarah did all of that. She exercised, she ate better, she lost some weight, and it still wasn't enough. And that's because nobody had explained to her the one thing that changes everything. When you move, your body matters just as much as how much you move it. In some cases, it matters even more. Your body isn't just a simple machine that burns calories in and stores calories out. It's a complex system with rhythms and timing. Your hormones follow patterns throughout the day. Your insulin sensitivity changes. Your muscles are more or less responsive depending on what time it is and what you've just eaten. And if you're exercising at the wrong time, you might actually be fighting against your own biology instead of working with it. So let's talk about what actually happens to your body after you eat a meal, because this is where the timing piece becomes crystal clear. When you finish eating, let's say you just had lunch, your blood sugar starts to rise. That's completely normal. Your digestive system breaks down the food, glucose enters your bloodstream, and your pancreas releases insulin to handle it. This is supposed to happen, but here's the part that most people don't realize. The peak of your blood sugar spike doesn't happen immediately. It usually happens between 30 and 60 minutes after you finish eating, and this matters a lot. During those 30 to 60 minutes, your blood is carrying more glucose than usual. Your muscles are screaming for energy, and here's where most exercise advice gets it backwards. People think, I should walk before I eat, so I can work up an appetite and feel like I've earned my meal, or they think, I should wait 2 hours after eating so I don't get a cramp while I'm exercising. But what if I told you that the absolute best time to move your body, especially for someone managing blood sugar, is right when your body needs help the most, right during that window when your blood sugar is starting to climb? Here's the science. When you exercise, your muscles pull glucose directly from your bloodstream without needing as much insulin. It's like having a second door into your cells besides the insulin door. Your muscles literally soak up that glucose and use it for energy. So if you walk right after eating, you're essentially intercepting that blood sugar spike before it gets too high. You're preventing the problem instead of trying to fix it later. Sarah figured this out almost by accident. She had started taking a walk right after dinner because her neighborhood was nicest in the evening, and the next time she checked her blood sugar before bed, it was noticeably lower than it usually was. She mentioned it to her daughter, who looked it up online, and that's when everything clicked into place. But here's where it gets even more interesting. It's not just about any walk at any time. The research is actually pretty specific about this. A study published in a major diabetes journal looked at people with type 2 diabetes, so even more advanced than prediabetes. They compared 3 groups: people who did one long walk in the morning, people who did one long walk in the evening, and people who took 3 short 10-minute walks right after each meal. You can probably guess which group had the best results. The people who took short walks after meals had significantly lower blood sugar spikes and better overall glucose control than either of the other groups, better than one long walk, better than exercising at any other time of day. And here's what really surprised researchers. The short walks didn't have to be intense. They weren't sprinting. They weren't doing high-intensity intervals. They were just easy, steady walks, the kind you could do in your neighborhood, the kind Sarah was doing. This is where conventional exercise wisdom breaks down. We've been taught that more is better, longer is better, harder is better. But when it comes to managing blood sugar, especially in the pre-diabetic stage, the timing and consistency matter more than the intensity. Now I want to be clear about something. This doesn't mean you should stop doing other kinds of exercise. Walking is wonderful, but it's not the whole picture. But for people specifically dealing with blood sugar and prediabetes, the post-meal walk is like finding the cheat code to the system. Sarah started with just a 10-minute walk after dinner. That was it, 10 minutes, not 45 minutes like she was doing in the mornings, not some exhausting workout routine, just a gentle, easy walk after her largest meal of the day. And within 3 weeks, she noticed her energy was more stable. She wasn't getting those PM crashes anymore. Within 6 weeks, her fasting blood sugar, the number you get when you haven't eaten anything overnight, started dropping. And when she went back to her doctor at 90 days, her A1C had dropped by a full 1.5 points. Now, 1.5 points might not sound like a lot if you're not familiar with blood sugar numbers, but in the world of prediabetes, that's huge. That's the difference between being on a path toward diabetes and being on a path toward reversal. That's the difference between needing medication in a few years or never needing it at all. And she did it without willpower, without deprivation, without completely changing her life. She just changed when. Now let's talk about how to actually do this, because understanding the science is one thing, actually changing your routine is another, and I want to make sure you know exactly how to make this work in your real life. First, let's be honest about what a post-meal walk actually looks like. It's not a power walk. It's not a race. It's not something that should leave you breathless or sore. The goal here isn't to burn maximum calories. The goal is to give your muscles an immediate job to do right when they're most receptive to glucose. You're looking for a gentle, steady pace, the kind where you could still have a conversation, but you're moving with purpose. That's it. Sarah started with 10 minutes after dinner. 10 minutes. She'd finish eating around p.m., and by 6:10 she was doing a slow loop around her block. Nothing fancy, no special equipment, just her and her neighborhood. Some days her husband joined her, some days she went alone. The consistency mattered more than perfection. Here's what I want you to understand about meal timing and walking. Your biggest blood sugar spike is typically going to happen after your largest meal. For most people, that's dinner, so that's often the best place to start. But the principle works after any meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The timing is what matters. The window you're looking for is this. Start your walk within 5 to 15 minutes of finishing your meal, not immediately. Give yourself a few minutes to digest and settle, but don't wait 30 minutes either. You want to catch that blood sugar curve before it peaks too high. 10 to 15 minutes is the sweet spot for most people. And here's a practical tip that Sarah discovered. Don't worry about finishing your entire meal before you start. If you eat your main course and then realize you want dessert or an extra serving, have that first, then walk. The idea is to walk after the bulk of your carbohydrates have been consumed. You don't need to be perfectly precise about this. Your body isn't a calculator. General timing is what matters. Now let's talk about something that trips people up. What if you're not hungry for a walk after eating? What if the idea of moving right after a meal makes you feel uncomfortable or nauseous? This is actually really common, especially if you're not used to it. Your body is used to resting after meals. Your digestive system kicks into gear, and your natural instinct is to sit down. That's normal. But here's the thing, your body adapts remarkably quickly. Sarah felt a little odd the first 3 times she did this. By day 4 it felt totally natural. By day 10 she actually looked forward to it. Start slow if you need to. Maybe your first week you do 5 minutes instead of 10. Maybe you just do a few gentle laps around your living room. Maybe you do some light stretching or standing movements. The point is to get your muscles engaged and working. Even light movement triggers that glucose uptake. You don't need to be running a marathon. Here's something else that's important. Consistency matters more than perfection. Sarah didn't do this after every single meal for 90 days straight. Life happens. She had days where she went out to dinner and couldn't walk afterward. She had family gatherings. She had days where she just didn't feel like it, but she did it most of the time, maybe 5 to 6 days a week. That was enough. And here's where a lot of people make a mistake in their thinking. They assume that if they miss a day or skip a walk, they've ruined it and might as well give up. But that's not how your body works. Your blood sugar management is built on patterns, not perfection. One missed walk isn't going to undo your progress, but consistent habit over time absolutely will change your numbers. So if you're starting this, commit to the idea that you're aiming for consistency, not perfection. Maybe you pick 3 meals a week to start. Maybe you pick just dinner. Maybe you pick all 3 meals if you're feeling ambitious. But whatever you choose, make it sustainable, because a routine you'll actually stick to for 3 months is infinitely more valuable than an intense routine you'll do for 2 weeks and then quit. Now let's talk about the walking itself. Distance doesn't matter nearly as much as you think it does. Sarah was covering about half a mile in 10 minutes. That's a leisurely pace, roughly 3 miles per hour. Not fast, not slow, just comfortable. You're not training for anything, you're just moving. The location doesn't matter either. Your living room is fine, your driveway is fine, a treadmill works, a neighborhood walk is lovely, the mall. Plenty of people do this, by the way. You can literally walk the mall after a meal and get the same benefit. The point is that you're moving consistently, not that you're in a specific place. Here's something Sarah noticed after about 3 weeks. She had more energy throughout the evening. She wasn't getting that post-dinner slump where everything feels heavy and you want to collapse on the couch. Her sleep was better too. When your blood sugar is more stable throughout the evening, your sleep quality often improves because you're not going to bed with a blood sugar spike that's going to crash in the middle of the night. And this is where it becomes self-reinforcing. You feel better, so you're more motivated to keep doing it. You're more motivated to keep doing it, so your numbers keep improving. Sarah went from dreading her 3-month checkup to actually looking forward to it because she had a feeling the numbers were going to be good, and they were. One more practical thing, keep track of how you feel, not obsessively, but notice things. Are your energy levels more stable? Are you less hungry between meals? Is your sleep better? These are often the first signs that your blood sugar management is improving, sometimes even before your official blood work shows it, and noticing these changes keeps you motivated to keep going. One of the questions I hear all the time is this: what if I can't walk after every meal? Does that mean this won't work for me? Absolutely not. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is to create a routine that your body can rely on. Even if you only manage a post-meal walk after dinner most days of the week, you're still giving your body an opportunity to use glucose more efficiently during one of the biggest blood sugar spikes of the day. Sarah discovered this pretty quickly. When she first started, she thought she had to walk after breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. By the end of the first week, she felt frustrated because life kept getting in the way. Some mornings were too busy, lunch breaks were short, and there were evenings when bad weather kept her inside. She almost convinced herself she was failing. Then, during one of her follow-up appointments, her healthcare provider reminded her of something simple: consistency beats perfection. That sentence completely changed how she looked at the process. Instead of worrying about every missed walk, she focused on building one habit she knew she could maintain for months instead of weeks. Dinner became her routine. Every evening, she would finish her meal, put on a comfortable pair of shoes, step outside, and spend about 10 to 15 minutes moving at an easy pace. No stopwatch, no fitness tracker, no pressure, just movement. Within a few weeks, she noticed something she hadn't expected. Her evening cravings started becoming less intense. She wasn't reaching into the pantry looking for cookies or chips while watching television anymore. She felt satisfied longer after dinner, and because she was outside walking instead of sitting on the couch, the habit of mindless evening snacking slowly disappeared on its own. That's something many people don't think about. Sometimes the benefit isn't only what walking does inside your body, sometimes it's the unhealthy habit that walking quietly replaces. Instead of eating out of boredom, you're moving. Instead of scrolling on your phone, you're outside getting fresh air. Instead of ending the day feeling sluggish, you're helping your muscles use the fuel your body has just received. Those small changes add up. There's another reason post-meal walking can be helpful. After eating, your muscles become one of the biggest places where glucose can be stored and used. When those muscles begin contracting during a walk, they naturally increase their demand for energy. That process helps move glucose from the bloodstream into working muscle tissue. It's one reason many diabetes specialists encourage regular physical activity as part of an overall management plan. The important word there is regular, not extreme, regular. People often believe they need expensive gym memberships, high-intensity workouts, or complicated exercise programs before they'll see improvements in their health. But our bodies don't always respond best to the hardest solution. Sometimes they respond best to the one you'll actually keep doing. Sarah wasn't training for a marathon. She wasn't trying to lose 20 pounds in 1 month. She was simply creating a healthier daily rhythm. And that rhythm became something her body started expecting. After dinner came movement. After movement came relaxation. After relaxation came better sleep. Those routines reinforced each other in ways she never imagined. Here's another practical suggestion I often give people: leave your walking shoes somewhere you'll see them after dinner. It sounds almost too simple, but the easier you make a healthy habit, the more likely you are to follow through. Sarah kept her shoes right beside the kitchen door. Every evening they acted as a quiet reminder. No alarms, no guilt, no complicated schedule, just a simple visual cue. Behavior researchers have found that reducing small barriers often makes healthy habits easier to maintain over time. Sometimes success isn't about having more motivation. Sometimes it's about making the healthy choice the easiest choice. Now let's talk about expectations, because this is where many people become discouraged. Some people notice changes within a few weeks. Others may take several months. And some people won't notice obvious differences until their next blood test. That's completely normal. Blood sugar is influenced by many different factors: sleep, stress, medications, illness, daily activity, nutrition, even genetics can play a role. That's why it's important not to judge your progress based on a single day. Instead, look at the overall trend. Are you becoming more active? Are you building a routine? Are you making healthier choices more consistently than you were a month ago? Those are meaningful victories. Sarah eventually stopped checking whether every individual walk was making a difference. She trusted the process. She focused on what she could control today instead of worrying about numbers she couldn't immediately change. Ironically, that's when she became less stressed about her health, and lowering stress matters too. When stress remains high for long periods, hormones like cortisol can influence blood sugar regulation in many people. While walking isn't a cure for stress, even a short walk outdoors can help many people feel calmer and mentally refreshed. That's another reason this simple habit often provides benefits beyond blood sugar alone. Before we move on, I want to leave you with one important reminder. If you're living with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, never stop or change your prescribed medications without speaking with your healthcare provider. Lifestyle habits like walking, healthy eating, good sleep, and stress management are incredibly valuable, but they work best as part of an overall care plan that's appropriate for you. And that's really the message behind Sarah's story. She didn't find a miracle. She didn't discover a secret cure. She found a simple habit she could repeat day after day. Sometimes lasting health changes don't come from doing something extraordinary. Sometimes they come from doing ordinary things consistently, one day at a time. And in the next part, I want to answer some of the most common questions people ask about post-meal walking, including whether walking after breakfast is better than after dinner, what happens if you have knee pain, and whether a treadmill gives you the same benefits as walking outside. One question almost everyone asks at this point is this: does it matter which meal I walk after? Is breakfast better than lunch, or is dinner still the best choice? The honest answer is that any post-meal walk can be helpful, because every meal causes your blood sugar to rise to some degree, but for many people, dinner tends to be the largest meal of the day. It's also the meal that's often followed by the longest period of sitting. That's one reason evening walks have become such a practical habit for so many families. Instead of ending dinner by moving straight to the couch, they spend 10 or 15 minutes walking together. It isn't about burning off the meal, it's about helping the body use that glucose while it's most available. Sarah experimented with this herself during the week. She usually walked after dinner because it fit her schedule. On weekends, she sometimes walked after lunch instead. After a while, she realized something important. The exact meal mattered less than simply making post-meal movement part of her routine. The habit became more important than the clock, and once that happened, it no longer felt like exercise. It simply became part of her day. Another question I hear is about pace. People ask me if they need to walk fast enough to sweat. The answer is no. Remember what we're trying to accomplish. We're encouraging your muscles to use glucose, not training for a race. A comfortable walking speed is enough for most people. If you can carry on a conversation without gasping for breath, you're probably walking at a perfectly reasonable pace. The goal isn't intensity, it's consistency. Then there are people dealing with knee pain, arthritis, or balance problems. They often tell me they wish they could walk, but they simply can't do it comfortably. If that's you, don't assume you've run out of options. Gentle movement comes in many forms: walking around your home, marching slowly in place, using a stationary bike, water walking in a pool, or even simple seated leg movements may still help increase muscle activity. The best choice is always the one that's safe for your body, and if you're unsure, talk with your healthcare provider or physical therapist about what fits your situation. Sarah's neighbor Linda had arthritis in both knees. She couldn't comfortably walk around the block, so she started walking slowly through her hallway for about 10 minutes after dinner. It wasn't glamorous, but it was something she could do consistently. Sometimes the best exercise isn't the perfect one, it's the one you'll actually keep doing. People also ask whether a treadmill works just as well as walking outside. From your body's perspective, your muscles don't really care where you're walking. They respond to movement, whether you're on a treadmill, in your living room, at the mall, or outside in your neighborhood. The important thing is that you're moving after the meal. Walking outdoors may have additional benefits for some people. Fresh air, natural light, and a change of scenery can improve mood and make the habit more enjoyable. But if the weather is bad or you simply prefer staying inside, don't let that stop you. Another concern people mention is weather: rain, snow, summer heat. Life doesn't always cooperate with our plans. Sarah experienced that too. During one particularly rainy week, she simply walked laps inside her house while listening to her favorite podcast. It wasn't exciting, but she kept her routine alive. That's something worth remembering. Missing the perfect walk is much better than missing movement altogether. Now let's talk about expectations again, because I never want anyone watching this video to think there's one habit that magically solves everything. Walking after meals is a helpful tool, but it's still only one piece of a much larger picture. The foods you eat, your sleep, your stress levels, your medications, your body weight, your overall activity, and even your family history all influence blood sugar. No single habit replaces good medical care. What walking does offer is something valuable. It's simple, it's free, and for many people, it's realistic enough to become part of everyday life. Sarah didn't change because she found a miracle. She changed because she found a routine she could continue without feeling like she was constantly fighting against herself. That's often what lasting health looks like. Not dramatic, not complicated, just small decisions repeated often enough that they become part of who you are. And before we finish, There's one final mistake I see people make over and over again. It's a mistake that can quietly slow progress without them ever realizing it. Let's talk about that next. One final mistake quietly holds a lot of people back, and the surprising part is that it has nothing to do with how far you walk or how fast you move. It has to do with what happens during the rest of your day. Many people believe that one healthy habit can cancel out 10 unhealthy ones. They go for their evening walk, feel good about it, and then spend the next 4 or 5 hours sitting without moving at all. Unfortunately, that's not how the body works. Our bodies are designed to move regularly, not just once a day. Even if you take a wonderful 10-minute walk after dinner, spending the rest of the evening completely inactive may reduce some of the benefits you just gained. Sarah noticed this without even realizing it at first. Before she started walking after dinner, she would usually eat, sit on the couch for several hours, watch television, and barely move until bedtime. After her evening walks became routine, something else naturally changed. She found herself staying a little more active around the house. She cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, watered her plants, or simply stood up more often instead of sitting for hours. None of those activities counted as workouts, but they all added movement throughout her evening, and over time, those small moments became part of a healthier daily rhythm. Researchers sometimes refer to this as reducing sedentary time. It simply means breaking up long periods of sitting with small amounts of movement. It doesn't have to be difficult. Even standing up for a few minutes or walking around the room can help interrupt long stretches of inactivity. That doesn't mean you need to avoid relaxing. Rest is important too. The goal isn't to stay busy every minute of the day. The goal is to avoid sitting completely still 4 hours without giving your muscles a chance to work. Another mistake people make is expecting instant results. We live in a world where we're used to quick answers and overnight transformations, but your body doesn't usually work that way. Blood sugar patterns improve gradually, healthy habits build gradually, and lasting changes often happen so slowly that you don't notice them from one day to the next. Then one day, you realize you're feeling better than you did a month ago. Sarah experienced exactly that. She didn't wake up one morning feeling like a completely different person. Instead, she noticed little things. She felt less tired after dinner. She slept more comfortably. She had steadier energy during the afternoon. Those changes didn't happen all at once. They happened quietly, one healthy day building on the one before it. Another important lesson Sarah learned was to stop comparing herself with other people. Some friends noticed improvements faster than she did. Others took longer. Everyone's body responds differently because everyone's starting point is different. Age matters, sleep matters, stress matters, medications matter, existing medical conditions matter. That's why comparing your progress with someone else's usually creates unnecessary frustration instead of motivation. The better comparison is with yourself. Ask yourself simple questions. Am I making healthier choices than I was last month? Am I moving more consistently? Am I building habits that I can still imagine doing a year from now? Those are the questions that matter most. One thing I especially appreciated about Sarah's approach was that she stopped chasing perfection. She no longer worried about having the perfect meal, the perfect walk, or the perfect day. She simply focused on making her next decision a little healthier than her last one. That mindset removed a tremendous amount of pressure. Instead of feeling guilty after an imperfect day, she simply started again the next day. No punishment, no frustration, just another opportunity to continue the routine she had already built. And that's something I hope every person watching this remembers. Better health rarely comes from one dramatic decision. More often, it comes from hundreds of ordinary decisions that seem almost too small to matter, until one day, you realize they mattered more than you ever imagined. Before we finish, I want you to think back to where we started. Sarah believed she was doing everything right. She was walking every day. She was trying to eat better. She was making an honest effort, yet her blood sugar numbers refused to improve the way she hoped. The turning point wasn't that she suddenly became more disciplined. It wasn't that she found a miracle supplement. It wasn't that she discovered a secret exercise program. She simply learned how to work with her body's natural timing instead of against it. That small change didn't solve every problem overnight, but it gave her something far more valuable. It gave her a routine she could realistically maintain, day after day, week after week, month after month, and that's where lasting progress usually begins. If there's one message I hope you remember from this video, it's this: You don't have to change your entire life in one day. Your body often responds best to small, consistent habits practiced over time. Those habits may seem ordinary, but together they can create meaningful changes. Maybe your first step is simply taking a 10-minute walk after dinner tonight. Maybe tomorrow you do it again. And maybe next week it starts feeling less like a chore and more like a normal part of your evening. That's how healthy routines are built, one decision at a time. At the same time, remember that everyone's health journey is different. Age, sleep, stress, medications, existing medical conditions, and nutrition all play important roles in blood sugar management. Walking after meals can be a valuable habit, but it works best alongside healthy eating, good sleep, regular medical care, and advice from your healthcare provider. If you've been diagnosed with prediabetes, don't lose hope. Prediabetes isn't a life sentence. For many people, it serves as an early warning, and early warnings give us something incredibly valuable. They give us time to act before more serious problems develop. Sarah often says that looking back, the hardest part wasn't taking the walk. The hardest part was believing that something so simple could actually be worth doing every day. Once she stopped searching for the perfect solution, she finally found one that fit naturally into her life. So tonight, after your next meal, instead of heading straight for the couch, consider stepping outside for a few minutes. Breathe some fresh air, move at a comfortable pace. Give your muscles a chance to do what they were designed to do. Your future self may be grateful that you started with that one simple decision. If you found this video helpful, I'd love to know your thoughts. Have you ever tried walking after meals, or is this something you're planning to start this week? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might encourage someone else who's beginning the same journey. And if you enjoy simple evidence-based health education explained in a practical way, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. We have many more topics coming on blood sugar, heart health, healthy aging, nutrition, and everyday habits that can make a real difference over time. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay curious, stay consistent, and remember, small healthy choices made today often become the foundation for a healthier tomorrow. I'm Dr. Andrew Hayes. Thank you for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.